Okay, Bezrat Hashem, we continue. Perek Yud Bet, Pasuk Tet. Tov nikle ve'eved lo. Better to be less valued ve'eved lo and have a servant. Imitkabed than to have kavod v'chaser lachem and not have food. So here the Gaon brings forward a nice musar about the values of the ethics of work. He says, "Tov la'adam shivazeh et atzmo." It's better to belittle kivyachol yourself and work and have a job and have a parnasa, even if that parnasa and that work is not honorable. It's not honorable. It's not a respectful job, and it's not at the level of his kavod. But you're better off like this and have parnasa than maybe tkabel v'chaser lachem, than being someone that has ego and out of his ego he's not allowing himself to take any jobs, and he pretends to be chashuv, to be important, and pushes himself to have leadership over the klal, and it's all a big air. It's full of air. At the end, he doesn't have nothing. He doesn't have he has kavod, or he's forcing to get kavod on the on the street, but at home he has nothing to eat, and he has no parnasa. And that's the Shlomo Melech in this pasuk is coming to address the relationship a person has to have with his own ego and his own pride. When do you put your pride aside? When you have no choice but to take a job that is not something you would consider ever, but that's what's going to put food on the table, and that's what's going to give you and your family the financial security. Why is that so important? Because you have people that, and bemet, it's the nature of men. When you tell, get a job, this I'm never getting. I'm not doing. I'm never working for someone, or I'm not. I will never agree to do certain jobs. Yeah, because the pride of the person is what's holding him back. Yeah, how can he do such a low job? But what he doesn't understand is that he's putting his ego in front of his family and his financial responsibilities to the family. To come Shlomo Melech and says, "Tov nikle ve'eved lo." You're better off being, not esteemed, right? Not appreciated, not respected, but have eved, have the means to feed your family, then letting your ego choke you and essentially choke your family because they won't have what to eat. Another aspect of that pasuk, he says this is the same yesod is applicable when you learn Torah. It's like you have someone that his ego doesn't allow him to ask questions. He thinks, if I ask a question, then I'm going to sound stupid, or I'm going to sound like I'm ignorant. I cannot ask any questions. Yes. So he says, you're better off, being humble and ask your question and get the answer and feed your neshama than being egocentric and proud and not ask the question and keeping your soul re'eva, hungry and ignorant. These are essentially, when you think about it, these are the two aspects of life that a person can expose himself in a very uncomfortable way. Is or when it comes to parnasa, yes, where he has to do certain things that he feels is not at his level, or when he has to learn. And those are the fundamentals, right? It's Torah and Avodah, Torah and Derech Eretz. And we're going to see the importance the Torah and Derech Eretz, both of them, have, and why they're both intertwined with the same challenge of the pride and ego. And usually one comes with the other. Huh? Meaning the person that has pride not to do a certain job will have the pride not to ask questions and not to expose his ignorance. When it's not really ignorance, when you think about it, it's just he doesn't know, and it's okay not to know. Right? I was in Israel last week, and the person that was taking me around is a sweetheart. Tattoos, but mamash matok shel ben adam, and we had a few days of kiruv and avodat Hashem. It was beautiful. So he told me. Now he's working. He has a very chashuv job. And he has they're a big family. A big family. One of his brothers works as a zabal. He takes the garbage. So I asked him. I said, I understand you Baruch Hashem, you have a very respectful job. Your sister is married to a very, very, very wealthy family. Yes, extremely wealthy family. Your nephew is extremely wealthy. Like you have Baruch Hashem. It's not like the family doesn't have access to wealth. You guys support cities, mamash, yeshivot, and your brother is a zabal. He carries like garbage. So he told me my brother will never allow somebody to give him anything. He's like, that's what he knows. He rather carry, get take the garbage and sit at our table bekavod than to have to be living off someone's chesed. There is a ma'ala in being able to overcome that pride. That pride has a price and has a limit. Okay, meaning I think we spoke about it a while back. What is the limit a person is not willing, the kavod, right, that a person has to keep, that if he gives it up, he's no longer considered human? Yes.
But the example you gave doesn't in Pirkei Avot or say that it's better that one piece that you earn yourself than
absolutely 10. That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. Nachon, that's the point I'm making. That's exactly the point I'm making. Is that is that the person, yes, that is in touch with himself, that is anav, will prefer, yes, to do a job that might not be respectful but earn of its own, than pretend to be, and at the end, even if he leaves and he has what to bring home, but it's tzedakah. So, so what is the limit? Like to what point, to what level, to what degree, yes, is a person supposed to give up of his pride? Because we know that a person that needs a little bit of kavod to exist, yes, there's a minimal kavod that a person needs to have, and self pride. That if you take this away from the person, yeah, they're inexistent. They're like dead. So once I heard from Rav Moshe Shapira, he gave the red line. He said, if someone tells you, I will give you $1 million, but I want you to undress naked in public, go under a table, and we're going to put food, and you're going to eat like an animal. You're going to eat like an animal in public, naked, under a table. So Arab Moshe, nobody with his right mind would agree to take $1 million for that. There's a limit. There's a limit, right? That was to him. That was the red line that nobody crosses. Okay, everybody has that limit of self-respect that nobody that for no price in the world you're willing to break and cross that line. Comes so past that line comes Shlomo HaMelech and tells us you have to learn to be humble, because if you're humble and you overcome that pride and that ego, you become receptive, you become a vessel. That humility creates a kli that will allow the beracha to go and be retained, and that beracha can be parnasa, and that beracha can be chokhmah. Okay? Any question on that pasuk? Pasuk Yud. Yodea tzaddik nefesh behemto. The tzaddik knows his animalistic soul. Verachame reshaim achzari. And the compassion of the reshaim is really cruelty. Says the Gaon, a tzaddik is someone that understands that the body needs to exist, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created man with an animalistic instinct, with desires. Now, the tzaddik also understands that because of the Yetzer Hara, humanity has lost clarity and focus on what is existential, and turned what is existential into what is what they enjoy. Existentially, you need to eat to exist. Existentially, you need to have intimate relationship with your wife to bring offsprings. But everything that's past that, that's already not existential. These are extras. So, because we have lost that clarity, today, everything seems to us as existential. There, yes. Brian,
That was caused by the Yetzer Hara.
yes, yes. So the tzaddik, says Shlomo HaMelech, Yodea nefesh behemto. He knows, he understands his animalistic instinct. He's in touch with it. Rabbi Yocham tells us that you have to keep close, very close to your Yetzer Hara if you want to be able to overcome it. Meaning you have to be in touch with your Yetzer Hara. You have to know your Yetzer Hara. You have to identify it. Same thing with your Nefesh HaBehemit, with your instinct. You need to know your instinct. You need to know how your instinct works and how it behaves and what triggers it so that you'll be able to feed it what is necessary and not the extras, and not spoil it with the extras. But the compassion, right? The mercy of the Reshaim, what does he do? The Rasha, he feels bad for his body. Yeah, I feel bad. My body needs to eat. It needs to be strong. Yeah. Same thing with his intimate life. I cannot hold it. I cannot. So he has rahamim kivyachol, right? If he needs to satisfy the body, that satisfaction and that extra that he's feeling to the body essentially is achzari. It's cruelty, because by feeding the animalistic instinct, he grows within him a beast, an animal, which leads to averot, which leads to mistakes, which essentially leads to Gehinam, says the Gaon. So how much, not how much, how careful do you need to be when it comes to your rahamim, to your compassion with yourself? And the same thing is with anything, the chinuch of your children. Yes, you have compassion for a child, and so every time the child says, "I want something," you give it to him. Is that called rachamim? That's achzariut. That's cruelty. Because you're creating a beast. You're creating an animal. Every time a child wants something and you say yes, you're not doing the child a favor. The opposite. You're creating a handicap. Later on, if the child doesn't have that, then how can he cope with life? It's not possible. But the more you educate your child to be in touch with his animalistic instinct, and you address, okay, this is needed, this is not needed, this is the body needs that, the body doesn't need that. Yes, you create that awareness and that sensitivity, so that later on, as the child grows, he's in touch with his body himself, and he knows already his instinct. Think about it. If since we were a little kid, we were taught how to deal with our Yetzer Hara, how to eat, and what's important, what's not, and all the extras of the life that we're exposed to. It's a different lifestyle. It's a different engagement. It's a different needs. Your priorities change. You're more free. You have now the ability to focus on other things. But when the child is fed everything you want, when the child runs to the TV, the child runs to his video games, You think yes, you think Bemet, you think you did your child the greatest favor. He wanted the PlayStation, so you got him the PlayStation. That's cruelty. Come on, Rabbi, don't exaggerate. Everybody has it. Everybody uses it. Yeah. You give your child a phone. That's cruelty. That you think you're doing chesed, at the end, that's cruelty. Because you're exposing him to things that nurture their animalistic instinct, that nurture their need. You handicap them. That's the message of Shlomo HaMelech. Tzaddik yodea nefesh behemto. Identify the animalistic instinct, and do not be Rahman with a price that can at the end cost too much. But pay attention. There's room to satisfy the body. There's room to satisfy the instinct also. Yes. But it has to be with measures. It has to be with an optic and a relationship, with an approach that gives clarity about the identity of what you're feeding. You're feeding an animalistic instinct. It's hiyuni, like the Arizal calls it. It's existential, but not more than that. On the other hand, any extra from that point on, it's all bonus. You understand that it's extras, so you appreciate it. That's called akarat hatov. You help the child to learn what akarat hatov is, and not to be a chatzuf and think everything is old and take everything for granted. Good. Oved pasuk yud aleph. Oved admato. Whoever works his land, yisba lachem, will be filled and satisfied. Will have plenty of food. Umradef rekim hasar lev. And the one that runs after emptiness, hasar lev, is senseless. Another very big lesson of Shlomo HaMelech when it comes to avodah. The Gaon brings a story that the Chovot HaLevavot brings in Shara Bechina, of a father that had a piece of land, a small piece of land, and that's why he inherited to his two sons. And they both quickly realized that from that field they cannot sustain two families. It's not possible. So what did they do? One left the field and he started working for others on other fields, and he completely disregarded his field. Says the Chovot HaLevavot, at the end the guy died of hunger. The other one, he worked. He also understood that this field is not enough. So he went and he worked for others until he had just enough money to support his family, cash flow that pays for his needs. And right away he went back and started working on his land. And that's how kept him at the end afloat. Down the road, he was, even when he didn't get jobs outside, but his field would bring a little bit to keep him alive. Yes? That's the story. That's the story of the Chovat HaLevavot. Says the Gaon, Oved Admato is someone that understands the Admato, he wants to say that's his body. Oved Admato, you have to learn to work your land, work your body, satisfy the need of your body. Why? Because Torah alone, without food and without parnasa, cannot be mitkayemet. Yafa Torah im derech eretz, Chachamim say. You need Torah and you need derech eretz. You need parnasa. So, says Shlomo HaMelech, Oved admato, if you know how to satisfy your body, yisba lachem. Yisba lechem en lachma ela lechma shel Torah. The lechem is the Torah Kedosha. When you satisfy your body, when your body is comfortable, or when it has what it needs, again, what it needs, not what we think it needs. Now you have the ability to learn Torah and be satisfied and filled by the Torah, the lechem of the Torah. However, Umradev Rekim, the one that runs after emptiness, he says that's what is emptiness is all the extras. He turns the essential as not important, and what's not important. Suddenly, all the olam hazeh becomes the most important. He needs everything. That's the emptiness. When the person puts priorities to what's secondary in his need, in his physical need, Hasar Lev, he has no sense, he has no heart. He doesn't see down the road. He doesn't realize that at the end, that's not going to yield him anything. He's not going to gain anything from it. And that focus of the futilities of the world takes his ability away from learning Torah. Because now the futilities have no end. There's always something else, right? So suddenly he starts chasing after all the needs. Today it's this, tomorrow is that, after the other days, there's always going to be something else and something new and something better and something sweeter. So Hasar Lev, he's missing the heart. Lev, what is the Lev? Zabina. Okay? He doesn't have now the differentiation, the ability to differentiate. You don't have the ability to differentiate. There's no future. It's emptiness. You end up being empty. Says the Gaon, when you chasar lev, when you don't have the ability to differentiate, when you don't have the midat bina, eno ro'et asof, you cannot see the end. You cannot project yourself to visualize intellectually the end result of your efforts, of your actions and your decisions. And that's because you are consumed by the rekim. You are consumed by the needs of the extras. And again, those extras are so overwhelming and take so much place that you don't allow your bina to kick in, and therefore you don't see past the excitement of or the satisfaction of the need on that moment, and the end we know. Another aspect of that pasuk says the Gaon, Oved Admato is referring to Gan Eden. We know that before the sin of Adam Arishon, Adam was in the Gan Eden. And his obligation to what? Le'ovdal Shomra. He had to work the Gan Eden, he had to something and systematic before the sin. Today it's through the mitzvot. When we do mitzvot, we build our own Gan Eden. We develop and we protect our own Gan Eden, right? That's the mitzvot aseh, mitzvot lo ta'aseh. Le'ovda ul'shomra. You do mitzvot aseh, you work your land of your Gan Eden. You develop your Gan Eden. Ul'shomra, and when you accomplish the mitzvot of lo ta'aseh, you refrain yourself from doing averot, you're protecting your Gan Eden. You're protecting that asset. That's how today we're mekayem, we accomplish the mitzvah le'ovda u'l'shomra. And that oved admato. That's what Shlomo HaMelech means when he says oved admato. When you work for your Gan Eden, is balachem. You'll be satisfied. However, muradef rekim, but the person that doesn't have that focus of Gan Eden, chasar lev, he's empty. He's empty. Once again, he's left with nothing. Al pi HaZohar, the Gan Eden, or the Admato that we're talking about, זה השכינה. Like it says, ותוצא הארץ נפש חיה. The earth took out nefesh chaya. Our obligation is to bring out from the eretz. What is the nefesh chaya? Is the shechina. That's why we say leshem yehud kudsha beruchu ushchinte. Okay, all our avodah is leakim shchinta me'afra. To elevate the shechina from the earth. When a person has in front of him that objective to elevate the Shekhinah, to build his Gan Eden, to support the Tikkun HaOlam through his actions, is Ba'alachem. Every effort that he does, HaKadosh Baruch Hu accounts it as a mitzvah, as a good deed, and it has reward. He is getting his lechem, so he'll be satisfied. But again, the person that goes after the emptiness, Hasar Lev, he has nothing. He has no clarity. He has no direction. He has no purpose. People wake up in the morning. Okay, they go to work. I know many people like this. Yes, they have a job, very good job. They're in control of their day. They're in control of their parnasa. They have a family. But when we sit and we talk, they're empty. I don't have a purpose. Why am I doing all this for? Yes, they give tzedakah. Yes, they go on vacation. Yes, everything. Tachlis, at the end, when we sit, emptiness. Mamash emptiness. They don't have a purpose. You know why there's no purpose? Because the motivation and the drive is the meradef rekim, is running after momentarily satisfaction. It's that nefesh be'emit. It's the delta between what's needed and everything else of the nefesh be'emit that the focus is. That the focus is on. Nothing else. And therefore, at one point, they don't understand. Like it's like a rat race, you know. They run, but they can never land. They can never land. Here, Shlomo HaMelech brings forward the importance to have clarity of our purpose in our life. If you want to be savea, if you want to be satisfied, if you want to feel full, Oved admato, work your land. Develop your Gan Eden. Oved admato, work the adama. What's the adama? Work the Shekhinah. Make sure that everything you do, you impact the Shekhinah to be elevated. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. You build your Gan Eden, that's the purpose. You'll always be Savea. Any question on that pasuk? That's why also it says, "Vayitzer Hashem Elokim et Adam afar min ha'adama." Man comes from earth, from earth. Oved admato, work your adama. You come from the adama, and the Shema says, work your adama, work your neshama, work from your essence. Can you pasuk Yud Bet, Ezrat Hashem. Hamad Rasha Metzod Ra'im. The desire of the Rasha is to it catches the method, the latsud, the catching of evil is that's the desire of the Rasha, to catch evil. The shoresh tzadikim iten. But the shoresh, the root of the tzadikim iten, gives, yields. Hamed Rasha
Most psukim are relatively understandable by the translation or when you try to translate it. This one's a little complicated.
Okay.
Like
Nachon. The hemda, the ta'ava of the Rasha, the metzod ra'im, is to catch ra'im. He wants to say like this. He said the nature of the Rasha, as we've explained in many, many times, is that the Rasha is driven by his ta'avot. His whole essence is satisfying the ta'avot. But if it's only to do ta'avot, and those ta'avot are mutarot, then there's no really a reason to identify that person or categorize that person as a Rasha. So it has to be, the Rasha takes those ta'avot and develops the ta'ava of doing averot. So from ta'avot that are mutarot, Now those ta'avot lead him to do averot, and now he desires the ta'avot of averot. That's the Rasha. He says, in essence, the Rasha is good. Because the ta'avot, they're not bad. They're hiyuni, like we said. But he pushed and fed them so much that now it became so big, out of control, that for him today, the desire of Avera is a good desire. It's something he cannot hold himself from. That's why he says Hamed, Hamad, right? Chemda. It's not even, meaning it gets to a point where the ta'ava is not even for a pleasure anymore. The need to satisfy the ta'ava is the drive, not the pleasure the ta'ava gives him. ושורש צדיקים ייתן the nature of the tzaddik, says the Gaon, Shoresh tzaddikim, the root of the thing, Yiten, is to give. And here's the punchline. The Rasha, once again, because he lost his ways in the Ta'avot, how did it go? Hashem gave you Arbi Meir. Hashem gives you the Ta'ava, right? Gives the person Ta'ava to exist. The person didn't contain it. He went to extras. Then he went full force extras. Then he went to Averot. Then it went to the pleasure of the Ta'ava versus the Ta'ava itself, right? He's doing it for pleasure. Eventually, he's so hooked that it's all about the Ta'ava, even if there's no pleasure. That's the Rasha. So the Rasha, everything surrounds around what? Around what he takes, what he takes, what he takes, what he takes, what he takes. However, the Shoresh, the Tzaddikim, Iten. The Tzaddik's focus is about the Nitina. It's about giving. So the more you have, and when you give, it's all about what you bring out from yourself, not what you take. And that's the koach that the tzaddik can nurture by being in control of his midot and his ta'avot. He now has the freedom to express the nature of needing, of giving, that is being suppressed and completely choked by the Rasha. So by controlling your ta'avot, your nature of the tzaddik to give blossoms and comes out. Versus the Rasha that chokes it by consuming his life with ta'avot. That's Pasuk Yud Bet. Tov. בסדר. So, סייעתא דשמיא, we just finished פרק י"ב, פסוק י"ב.
By controlling your ta'avot, your nature to give shines, basically.
That's right.
Shines from within you.
That's right.
And it has a desire to come out.
To come out and grow. And that's the tzaddik, that's the nature, the root of the tzaddik.
Beautiful.
בסדר.
בסדר.
טוב,
טוב.
Rabbi.
שיהיה לנו יום נפלא בעזרת השם.
Bye. Fantastic.
בהצלחה.